Sorry, it's 12:08 now. Okay, so Maisie and I watched the new HBO Max Velma. There's a number of things wrong with it. If I really wanted to watch a dumpster fire, I would have just gone outside, watched someone lit trash on fire, and enjoyed that way more. There's like a ton of things that are way better than that nonsense. And this is not because of racism, because, like I said, I was accused of being racist, and I'm an autistic 31-year-old man with a permanent 12-year-old brain. And that's going to be relevant for later when I cover some other topics, because nothing about this show is redeemable at all. Like, the only characters that I even have remote sympathy for is Velma's mother, uh, Norval, because of in the early stages, they treated him like this weak, pathetic, simp type guy, stereotype. And I'm not too happy with that. Norval's, father, and like the mascot that is associated to what Norval's dad does at the high school because he's a therapist and he's supposed to help with like mental health and like trauma, depression, and that type of stuff, and help coach the students into a better method of how to handle anxiety, depression, potential suicide thoughts, and other things of that nature. Like really important stuff that's not meant to be taken lightly, because people have taken their lives before when things got too bad, and I'll get into that more later. But I genuinely do not appreciate Mindy Kaling's messed up ideology of how she thinks this is supposed to go. Like, she should have just stuck with her live action nonsense instead of taking an IP that doesn't belong to her and trying to recreate a fan fiction that nobody asked for. No one. And like I said, I'm trans male. I have a pride flag and I have a trans flag in my room. And here's, here you see that, and then you see that. Here's my cat too. I feel like we shouldn't have been exposed to this trash. My cat and I were having a hard time watching that show at all. Like, again, the only sympathy I had was like Norval's dad, the mascot, Norval himself, the cats, Fred, and even Fred's like dad to an extent, even though they portrayed him as being this like really negative guy that was trying to get his son to not love women for their inner beauty and was trying to force him to only love women for like sexualized reasons, which I don't think is appropriate considering, again, they're minors. So I'm gonna try to go through like my entire, like kind of like condense my list, because I wrote it down on a sheet of paper, to kind of explain some key points, like maybe some things that YouTubers might not have pointed out. So for example, like I said, assuming real life struggles or jokes. See, in the earlier half of the episodes, they had like Velma and Daphne like up in the bathroom, of course, sitting here talking about how it's kind of okay for people to deal drugs, and then starts listing all these other reasons of why that is. And then, you got Velma, of course. Apologies for the dogs barking in the background. But you have Velma sitting here saying that only a certain group of people are allowed to do that. Because, according to her, all white people are bad. They're rich people that are, like, too overpowered and privileged. Even though, as a white male myself, that's nowhere near as true at all. Because last time I checked, me and my family struggle to even get enough money to even do half the things that we want to do. The majority of the time, we're daydreaming what we could be doing, dreading the fact that it's taken us a really long time to even get there. Because with how things are currently, things are overpriced nowadays. We're buying like 2 or 3 items is like $30 or above dollars just to get nowadays, and that's barely anything. So like last time I checked, white people are not privileged. They're not all rich, and they don't have trash personalities like Mindy Kaling seems to think. So, like, suck it up. I don't know who hurt you. I would say I have sympathy for you, but considering the fact that I've learned that you literally threatened to fire people after you were told that you would get sued for sexually assaulting somebody that works for you because you decided to kiss them when they were having a serious work conversation that involved work-related concepts, and you admitting on a live television show when being interviewed that you didn't care what they were saying because you tuned them out because of how hot they were. You've lost your privileges of me having any ounce of sympathy for you. You're a trash human. I was willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, but clearly you don't know anything about anybody whatsoever. And it's awfully funny that you claim that you're trying to represent a whole minority of your own race, but yet throughout the entire show, you make people of your own race look like narcissistic jerkwads that nobody wants to be around. I mean, you even have Daphne call out Velma at one point when she tries to help her sell drugs, say that maybe she should be less judgy. And then Velma not being able to take the criticism because she doesn't think that she's in the wrong for anything, because she can't take accountability for her own actions, thinking that she's not the problem, that everybody else is, which seems to be a running gag throughout the entire series because she's too incompetent to admit that maybe she's in the wrong. And then the next point I have is that it's just straight cringe. There's nothing about it that's interesting. It's not funny at all. Yeah, I can kind of see why the animation at times can be really nice, and the colors can be somewhat okay, and the creepy flashback things does look cool and everything, but that's about it. And then the character personalities are just flanderized in all the wrong ways, because you focus on negative aspects and nothing about the characters are interesting. They're all trash humans. Because like I said, the only character that I kind of sort of liked in the early stages was Norval, because even though they made him black in this show instead of like how he's supposed to be in the OG Scooby Doo, the art style is okay. I mean, the only critique I have is that why did you have to give him French fry hair at the top? Because all I think about is that his head looks like a thing of French fries and it's kind of distracting at times. But other than that, I mean, like, he had a genuine nice personality. Yeah, he kind of simped and stuff. I don't really appreciate that they're trying to make him a bad boy and had him say something along the lines of, isn't it, refreshing to have a white guy wrongly accused being arrested for once, with him being black. That's not appropriate. That's kind of a racial thing right there, and that's not acceptable. You cannot sit there and call the people giving you a critique to help you do better. You can't call them racist when you yourself is racist, because the only one that's racist in this situation is the person that says that they're not, because you're the one that's being defensive. The people criticizing this are not. They're just pointing out the obvious flaws that your show has, because instead of taking time to do research and to actually slow down and make sure that everything is like written properly, you wanted to speed run this as fast as possible and throw this garbage out, at the worst case scenario, and nobody likes it. Like, no one on either side and in the middle. Again, my next point is the whole normalizing minors that are canonically 15 in this series in a high school in various ways. Like, you sexualize them butt naked in the very first episode, and way before that even happens, you literally have two cockroaches having sex right off the bat. Like, you do realize you can have an adult show without necessarily over-sexualizing every single thing every 2 seconds. There are adult cartoons that can, manage that in a way where it's not overwhelming and still be funny at the same time. And you failed to do that in every way possible. But you also normalize. There was a scene in Velma where Fred is, really having an upset moment, like a depressed moment, where he talks about that he doesn't think he's good enough to his dad's standards. And so he shows a photo of what his dad looks like from his cell phone to Velma, and Velma straight up says DILF City or whatever, which is obviously, an abbreviation for, dad that I'd like to F or whatever. And here's the thing. Again, she's a minor, and you're having her say this about a grown-ass man. Do you not see the problem with this? You are normalizing minors flirting with older people, and that can get them sent to jail. We already have a problem where minors are at this mentality because their parents are not monitoring who they're talking to on social media, trying to date older people that can get the older person arrested because they're going to be labeled as a PEDO. You do realize that, right? Not to mention that you literally thought it was okay to have Velma's dad try to bond with, his daughter, even though it was actually a lie so he could avoid his wife. I don't know if he married, the girl or not. People kept saying it was just his girlfriend. But, he only did that to go to work instead. He just wanted to use spending time with Velma as an excuse to escape trying to be on maternity leave with his girlfriend and the newborn baby that they were trying to, take care of. Or whatever. But y'all decided that of all places that he could quote-unquote bond with his daughter, that a strip club was the perfect place to do that. And then later on, he literally lets his daughter get wasted on alcohol. And you do realize that underage drinking is illegal. You are not supposed to have people under the age of because last time I checked, in order to sell alcohol at my workplace, you have to be 21 or older in order to buy alcoholic beverages. So the fact that they're fanatically 15 and you're letting a 15-year-old drink so much to the point to where they're throwing up and having a hangover is normalizing and encouraging underage drinking. So you should be fucking ashamed. That's unacceptable. You don't even understand how many impressionable people are gonna see that and think that that's okay. Because we already have people that are already doing that. You don't have to put that crap in there to be edgy and adult-oriented. You can literally pick a different thing to do and it still work without spreading harmful messages. Okay? Because that's stupid as hell. My next point is the fact that you have lesbian cops in the show that are the adoptive parents of Daphne. But there's a scene where they literally run over a baby stroller and they make it seem like they killed the baby as they're recklessly driving after Velma and their daughter, not realizing that that's who it is, that are drug dealing illegally. Not to mention, on a side note, you can't throw in references to the OG Scooby Doo just to use it as names for drugs, because that's an insult at best. That's not giving the fans what they wanted. You're just mocking the fact that that's what they wanted to have in the show originally, because they weren't expecting this overly charged shenanigans that you thought was acceptable. And why I'm bringing this up is you're making it seem like that people in the LGBTQ plus think that because they're LGBTQ plus that they're just gonna be allowed to get away with anything just because they're a part of that community, and that's not entirely true. Nobody in this community thinks like that. Okay, so I don't appreciate the fact that you're slandering an entire minority and then claiming that you support us by having a potential lesbian couple between Velma and Daphne supposedly as one of the plot points. But not only are you making, the LGBTQ plus look bad by doing this with, these lesbian cops and stuff, but you're just ridiculing police officers too in general, because you're making the policemen and women look bad. Because that's just unacceptable. You're making everyone under the blue sun look like they're terrible humans, while at the same time making several jokes about how white people are terrible, but yet you apparently want to get validated by white people at the same damn time. Like, what is your problem? That is not how you write a show. And no, this is a fan fiction. You're self-inserting yourself as a character that you claimed that you were, when there's nothing about this character that's anything remotely similar to how you act. Because the thing is this is how you act in real life. You don't care about nobody but yourself. And that is the most trashiest personality trait that you could ever have. The show is literally dissing every minority group possible, every race possible. You're making your own race look like a pathetic thing, and I feel sorry for the people of your race because they probably feel embarrassed knowing that this BS exists. So I hope you're happy, because you're not just insulting white people, black people, Asian, like you're insulting the entire globe at this point, and you think it's funny. Apparently, you guys think it's hilarious that y'all are sexualizing minors. So let me ask the question, are y'all pedos? Because it seems to me that y'all don't seem to give a frick that actually is a serious issue that we're having, where there are people that think it's okay to prey on children and even kidnap them and do really inappropriately dangerous things to them that could lead to them getting killed. And y'all think this is funny. But yeah, whatever. And yet y'all want to think that this is because critics are being racist. Yeah, y'all's priorities are not straight at all. Y'all need to... I feel like the Scooby project needs to happen, where y'all's brains need to be taken out and just freaking put somewhere else, because y'all sure as heck ain't using them. No offense. Again, my next point is, just sexualizing minors in general is unacceptable. It's not funny, it's not cute, that's not adult content, that's not edgy, that's just y'all being really gross and yucky. There is no excuse for that. Y'all can do better. The fact that you're like over exaggerating stereotypical voices for the lesbian cops to make them sound a certain way is kind of degrading and really bothersome to me, because not all people sound like that. When they're in the LGBTQ plus, I feel like that's just an insult, because you're just assuming how people in our community act like, and that's just not okay. Like I said, making fun of all minorities. The fact that this whole show is nothing but jealousy, the movie. Like, everyone's just hateful, nonstop. Velma is a bad influence to anybody that sees it. I'm not gonna be too mean. Like, I'm not gonna post this to Facebook, because I have a friend on there, I don't remember their name, who does like the show, and they have the Velma character as a profile picture, so out of respect for them, I'm not going to post this to Facebook, but I'm definitely going to post this on YouTube, because I swear to gosh, I wanted to say stuff about this too, because it's just terrible. I mean, I watched all 6 episodes back to back, just so nobody else would have to. Because this is just ridiculous. It's pathetic. Because like I said, the only character I kind of started out liking at the beginning was Norval. And stuff. I mean, it's okay if he doesn't want to be into drugs, okay? That's fine. I don't mind that. But trying to make him semi-toxic because all men are bad and women are good and stuff is just pathetic. Because, women can be just as bad at times too. It's not just a one-sided thing. So I don't really find that very fair to the men, because you're making them all look like these weak, pathetic people that don't know how to take care of themselves. And that's just downright disrespectful. as a trans man, I don't find it very appropriate to treat men like that, because y'all make it seem like women are above men, and that's unacceptable, because y'all act like that you are never in the wrong, because it can go both ways. I don't know if you know this, but it can go both ways. So there really isn't any toxic masculinity in this. The fact that you have the OG voice actor of Fred playing the dad of Fred and forcing him to have to read a script where he's basically forcing a character that he used to voice in the OG show, forcing him to be like this stereotype of what men are supposed to be, is just pathetic. Like, I feel like he feels really bad about that, because I bet you $1,000,000 when he got told that he was going to voice a character in a Scooby Doo spinoff, that he thought that that meant that he was going to voice Fred again, only for you guys to throw this nonsense at him instead, and I feel really bad for him. I feel bad for a lot of the voice actors, to be honest, because I bet you $1,000,000 they thought that this was going to be better than what it actually is. So, for all the people that got dragged into this when they didn't want to do this, sympathy is for you guys. But Mindy Kaling, you honestly really are out of touch severely. Like, I don't know what your problem is. I don't know anything about the Office thing or whatever, or your past works. I just know that you are not cut out for, like, cartoon IPs. You never should have taken this IP at all, because you clearly do not know what you're doing. And I say this because you made fun of adults that watch cartoons when freaking Norval in a scene said, "Do you know what 420 humor or culture is?" And then had you say that it's code for adults that still watch cartoons. Excuse me, but didn't you say that this show was targeted for an adult audience? Are you stupid? Like, you cannot sit here, make an adult cartoon for adults to watch, and then turn around and say this BS directly after. How stupidly dense do you gotta be? And you can't have the shocked Pikachu face when people start criticizing you for your poor decisions. You brought that on yourself. So don't complain. Okay? Like, I don't understand the stupidity that's happening here. The only person that should be doing the equation meme here is all of us critics that are trying to help enlighten you on how to do something better with your life instead of ruining something that you just were not meant to mess with. Also, like I said already, the incompetent police. You're making police officers look bad, because not only did you have them run over a baby stroller to make it almost seem like they killed a baby, the minute, like, Daphne made up an excuse to get her adoptive parents off of their trail, saying that she had found a stray cat, which, ironically, they do end up taking in a stray cat later, and it kind of reminds me of my cat, because it's an orange cat as well. But during that scene, they literally run over a lot of civilians on, like, I guess, I don't know if it's like a baseball field or a soccer field, but they run over like a lot of kids on the school campus, killing them on impact. Recklessly. And again, you're making police officers look bad when you're doing that. Because not all police officers, break the law like that. There are some decent police officers that actually take their job seriously. And countless times throughout this series, you made it look like they don't know what the F they're doing. And I don't appreciate the fact that you're making everybody look bad because somebody hurt you so bad that you have to ridicule everybody in the most negative way possible because you can't get your crap together. Like, what is your problem? Like, that's stupid. Like, let's see here. Oh yeah, I kind of scrolled down on my page notes, But another thing that I don't think is okay is like earlier on, because apparently Velma's dad, after Velma's mom, OG mom, goes missing, so to speak, he hooks up with a girl who's the owner of a place called Spooners or whatever. And she ends up, getting pregnant. And y'all somehow managed to sexualize a pregnant woman. And honestly, I just want to say that I'm not sure if all pregnant women would agree with me on this, but I'm pretty sure that most of them don't feel kind of comfortable with the fact that you're doing that because, with pregnancy, there's a lot of pain, morning sickness, a lot of stuff that can cause like anger throughout that time because they're carrying a baby and they have to be on like a certain type of diet so that the baby is not like impacted with negative, outcomes and stuff. And they're usually not in a very good mood, early on because it's a lot of stress and stuff to have to, deal with. And sexualizing pregnant women is just inappropriate because a lot of creepy people will see that and think that it's going to be okay to go up to pregnant women and just like start looking at them a certain way, and that's going to make them really uncomfortable, especially if it's like a stranger that they don't know. And y'all have like literally no respect for that. And it's like, no, dude. Like, I can understand why people hate this show. I literally do understand. I can see why everyone on every freaking side of the freaking playing field and in the middle despise this. Like, I literally get it. Like I said, making men look bad is just that's just disrespectful. Cringe jokes because none of that stuff lands. None of it's funny. It's just boring. Paint drawing, like my cat is more entertaining than that crap. And that's saying something. She actually makes me laugh. This show, the only time this show even made me laugh was when Velma got ran over by a police car because she antagonized them enough to make them mad enough to do that. And I'm sorry for having to say that because I don't condone that kind of like action. Because again, you're making police officers look bad because they're not just going to randomly do that for no reason. So you're painting them in a bad light. But that was like literally the only time that I even did that. And I'm not like, because as an autistic person, I do kind of have like a dark sense of humor, and people with Asperger's do typically fall into loving dark humor. So like when stuff like that happens, they tend to laugh at things that aren't appropriate. So that's the main reason. Which, speaking of autism, some adults that still watch cartoons, Mindy, might actually be on the spectrum. And I don't think you fully understand that. Because autistic people typically are more drawn to cartoons than they are live action adult programming. So before you sit there and try to poke fun at people that are adult ages that still watch cartoons, maybe shut the heck up and actually understand that not all adults are able to think like adults, because some of us might actually be on the spectrum of autism. So maybe be more respectful before you open your trash mouth through a fictional character that you have nothing in common with, much to popular belief. Because I hate to break that fantasy of yours, you have nothing in common with that character at all. And I find it really hard to believe that anybody could even relate to that trash dumpster fire. Okay? People used to like that character, and you totally butchered them in ways that I didn't even think was possible. So I hope you're happy. I really do. Because again, this has nothing to do with race. This has a lot to do with the fact that you made them unworthy of being liked by anybody. Also, I don't think it's okay that Norval was considered a simp for Velma. because he deserves better, and Gigi wasn't even any better as a character for him. So I honestly will admit, when he said that he simps for himself, I take that as the idea of he's finally coming to terms that he doesn't need Gigi or Velma because he's better off taking care of himself, because he's better off being alone than simping or being trapped in toxic relationships with women who don't appreciate, his kindness. Because you're making fun of men that are soft and kind hearted who genuinely just want to help people out of the kindness of their heart with no evil intention because they just want to be helpful to people. That's not something to make fun of, because some of us soft men out there actually are hard to come by. And when you paint us in a way that makes us look pathetic like that, it's just an insult to the fact that we're just kind hearted people that really have the best interest for everybody. And you're making it look like we're just as trashy as you, and we're not even that bad. So, like, why are you calling out every single minority and then trying to glorify yourself like you're above everybody? Like, one on one, answer this question and don't deflect it with falsifications. Be an adult. Quit being some pathetic person that can't own up to your own mistakes. I know it must be hard for you to actually admit when you're wrong, but sometimes admitting when you're wrong shows that you actually grow and developed into a better person. And I don't think you're ever gonna do that. So let's be honest. I'm sure that underneath all this negativity, you might be good, but that's like a 1%. You do make fun of all races and minorities. You're basically racist, and you base things on stereotypes that are way outdated. You literally insult specific people based on freaking specific names, because you name drop all throughout your series 24/7, treating it like it's a joke or something because it's a quote-unquote reference, but I'm pretty sure the people you're referencing don't even want to be associated by that show whatsoever. To be honest. You're normalizing bad parental behavior. Like, you think it's okay to normalize abusive families when you don't even realize that there are people out there that literally have grown and, traumatized lifestyles as a child, who actually experienced trauma and like negative things that they really shouldn't have had to gone through, and different types of abuse and stuff, and you're normalizing that like it's a joke. And I take offense to that for legitimate personalized reasons. Things are better now, but to sit there and have a show that literally glorifies that kind of behavior like it's some quirky little joke because you think it's funny is unacceptable. Because you're not considering the fact there are people that literally suffered from this stuff in real life, and it led to them having to get medication for this stuff. So maybe think before you do this stupid, dumbass type stuff. Like, you literally are not educated enough to know anything about mental health, which is my next point. That Norval's dad is a therapist for the high school, and all because he's a white man, everybody in that school just doesn't take him seriously and make fun of him. They make fun of the mascot that represents mental health awareness, but the minute that Norval's mother comes into the frame, all of a sudden everything's okay. Again, you're making men look bad. You're not taking mental health and therapy seriously, and I personally find that offensive as well, because not only do I take medicine for anxiety that's really severe that can lead to self-harm and other negative things, but I take depression meds for long-term depression. I actually was suicidal once in my 11th year of high school and had to go to a mental hospital for that reason. And even then, I still felt kind of anxious about opening up about everything because I got made fun of by some people while I was up there as well. And so, I can personally say that that's kind of offensive. You can't have the popular clique girls in Daphne's group make fun of the therapist and then turn around and be like, oh, since Velma revealed Daphne's diary about how she goes and gets secret sessions with, Norval's dad and the mascot for, therapy and stuff, that all of a sudden these popular girls actually care about mental health and then turn around and say, oh, that's not a joke. Because that doesn't excuse the fact that throughout the entire series you mocked therapy and mental health the entire time. That doesn't excuse that. You're not excused. I'm sorry, but you still failed the exam, the test, life, everything as a whole. That's unacceptable. Because as a person that suffers from these things and goes to a psychologist for therapeutic reasons, I find that disrespectful. There's also therapy pets that help people with these problems. So I hope you're happy yet again because you're basically making everybody look bad and not acknowledging what the real problem with your stupid ass show actually is. So I'm just going to say that from a personal viewpoint so that you understand how in the wrong you actually are about these things, because clearly you don't know nothing about mental health, autism, any of that stuff. Which that's why I actually sympathize with Velma's mom in this situation. Because if you were my child, I don't think I'd want to put up with your trash behavior either. Okay, let's be honest. Because you have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. I really hope that you seek therapy and that you get help. I pray to the heavens and the great gracious God himself that maybe one day you'll finally realize just how bad this show is, learn from this experience, and, better yourself, educate yourself, detoxify these negative stereotypical thought processes that run through your mind, and stop being racist, and learn how to do things correctly before you go and do anything reckless a second time. Because I swear to goodness, this ain't it, fam. This is not how you go about doing this stuff. You're just ruining yourself. You're ruining the livelihood of all the people involved. And I don't care if you're not the one that wrote it. It still came out of your head to come up with the idea to write this trashy fanfiction that nobody asked for, where you self-inserted yourself as what you thought Velma was supposed to be, when that was not at all what she's supposed to be. So I really do hope that Norval in upcoming episodes, because if I'm going to watch it at all, it's for the characters that I listed off as the ones that I care about, because those are the only ones that I actually am semi-invested in, because I'm hoping that they can escape this freaking hellish nightmare. But yeah, I feel like during that freaking flashback when, Velma's mom actually was annoyed with Velma and that's why she probably left, I felt like in a way you were indirectly poking fun at autistic people as well, because of the fact that you made it seem like she couldn't, tell that her mom's mad at her for all these things. And as an autistic person myself, it is actually hard for people on the spectrum to sometimes read people, and to make a joke about that it's really just really hurtful, because again, I don't think you understand the struggles of what it's like to actually live life like that, because sometimes it's really hard to socialize and talk to people because you don't genuinely know what people are going through. And when you're on the spectrum, it makes it that much harder to tell when a person's annoyed with you, to tell if you're doing something that they don't like. It's really hard. And you're making it look like a freaking joke. And I don't appreciate that. I could care less about the freaking race swapping. I'm more upset at the fact that you're sexualizing minors. You're sexualizing pregnant women. You're encouraging, abusive parenting. neglecting stuff and being racist, discriminating every single minority under the blue sun, making LGBTQ plus look bad, and making all men look bad regardless of what race they are, glorifying women as if they're above everybody else with narcissistic personality traits. It's just like, no, dude. That's not how you write a show. You can be an adult show without doing the crap that you've done up to this point. Um, I think the final thing on my list of paper here is like forced relationships. Like, people were pointing out that when freaking Velma was having that panic attack or whatever, like that anxiety that she was having on the front porch, that you guys had Daphne just straight up like freaking kiss Velma without hesitation. And I agree with everyone else. That is not what you're supposed to do when someone is having like a panic attack that could potentially lead to like heart attack or heart related issues. Because you need to not do that. That's going to overstimulate the body even more and make it even worse. Because they're already struggling with breath, panicking, and that's just going to not make it any better. That's going to make it 10 times worse. So again, you don't know anything about mental health and how to approach this appropriately. So you're sending really toxic messages and encouraging the wrong type of things to do in these types of scenarios that could literally make or break whether or not this person survives or not. Because again, you're just making fun of people that suffer from these things, and that's just not right. So, no, this show is definitely not worth watching. I would definitely say watch something better. Like, for frick's sake, Becky and Joe's freaking second season of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared on Channel 4, if you have a VPN, is way more better to watch than that. I've been watching a lot of great animes, for freaking sake. Like, I'm trying to think of like the names of some of them. Like, I think Cannon Blasters was one. Cause that one was pretty good. Glitter Force is pretty good. Like, the Pokemon movies are way better than that. I mean, the video game Stray is way more enjoyable than that nonsense. And not to mention, if you go onto HBO Max right now and like scroll over to like the left and right, they have a ton of like the OG Scooby Doo like adaptations like all over the place on there. Now I don't know if you have to pay to watch those or not, because people had stated that they had taken off a lot of stuff, but I noticed that it must be so bad of a show that they decided to bring some of those back to kind of, negate the how terrible it is. I'm almost dreading what the next episodes are going to be like because of how bad it's been this entire time. Which, again, Mindy, I really don't have any sympathy for you. Because the fact that you threatened to fire people over something you were in the wrong about really says a lot about your personality and how trashy you really are. Not to mention that in the show, you had Fred obviously be the one to try to basically pay Velma to not say anything, almost in a similar way like you did in real life with this worker that you forced yourself onto inappropriately, but then turned around to threaten to fire after you were told you could get sued for that because you're abusing your power. You had Fred, a white male, basically try to bribe Velma with a checkbook to write a check out to her so that she didn't say anything about him not reaching puberty yet. Because I guess I forgot to mention that Fred is not only, labeled as a rich, entitled, white male that's bad, but apparently, despite being a minor, also hasn't hit puberty yet. So you mock him and make him look like he's incapable of cutting his own food and taking care of himself, which is just fucking pathetic. Like, bro, come on now. Not all not all white people are bad. And no, not all of us are privileged like you seem to think. Some of us really struggle out here to make enough money to even be able to get half the things we need. So I find it really offensive that you think you know how people are, because clearly you don't. Like, don't mix yourself in things you don't know anything about. That's my only advice to give to you in this circumstance, because the only one being racist here is yourself. So don't blame other people for your terrible actions, because you're the only one at fault here. And I'm getting real tired of all these falsifications where you're trying to make it look like your show is doing well when clearly it's not. For you to have this many YouTubers try to encourage you to do better than what you've been doing, you get 10 times worse. And that's just sad. Because I feel like you have the potential to do better. Because another thing that people don't like is that the show, it has a lot of meta humor, but they do it so often that it's annoying. It's not even funny either. It's like really pathetic. Because if you have to explain the joke, then it totally misses the reason why it's supposed to be a joke. A joke is supposed to be one of those things where it's funny for, like, you know, like for certain reasons. But having to explain it treats the audience like they're stupid and not able to read it themselves. And honestly, like, who is the show meant for? Because it's not meant for a young audience, because children are not going to feel comfortable seeing some of this stuff. And here's the thing, I kind of liked it when they focused on, like, the gory stuff, because it made it kind of cool. But then they dropped it all of a sudden for, like, a love triangle, to the point where it's now starting to become like Twilight, the movie series, where Bella couldn't decide who she wanted to date, which that is why it got boring really fast, because half the movies was just her with her mouth open 24/7 and her not knowing who she wanted to date. And after a while, that gets boring really fast. And forcing people to be lesbian or bi makes the LGBTQ plus look bad, because again, we're not forcing ourselves onto straight people, because like if they aren't interested in dating us, then we're most likely not going to want to date people that are not interested. We're obviously going to look for other people that are in the community that we're a part of instead, because we don't want to come off as being forceful to anybody, because we're not that toxic. Okay? Like, god darn. Like, instead of assuming how you think a minority acts like, maybe get to know us better. Like, do your freaking research and stop being petty. Like, I don't know who the heck hurt you bad enough to be this stupid and low down, but like, either get a clue or shut the heck up. Because I'm not gonna sit here and have you trash talk every single freaking minority. Because I'm pretty sure people of your race feel so daggone ashamed and embarrassed to know that they have to associate to someone as bad as you. And I really have sympathy for them, because they shouldn't have to put up with that. Like, they really shouldn't. You made us all look bad, and I don't know what else to say. That's about it. Just don't. Just stop. And the fact that Scooby Doo himself's not even in the show, that's sad. Because he was like Shaggy's close friend. I'd be willing to say that he was a therapy pet for Shaggy in a way. But yeah, I mean, that's about all I wanted to say. Like, I watched it with Cow Pattern Peepy, Freezerburnpy right here, and, you know, my new addition, Green Cubepy, aka the Minecraft boy. I watched it with my boys here, and with my cat right here. And I can assure you, none of us enjoyed it at all, because we practically just tortured ourselves. Like, it was really hard for me to watch. Like, half the time I found myself looking at my computer instead of the actual show, because it was that boring. I didn't laugh at all, except for the time that Velma got hit by the car, and that was about it. Like, seriously. And I really feel bad for Norval and his dad because they're just trying to be helpful and kind-hearted people. And I really have sympathy for them. I have sympathy for Fred too and his dad. Like, I really feel bad for the people that had to get forced to have to, like, go in the meeting room to have to do this trash because I'm pretty sure they'd love to do anything but that. So, my condolences and sympathy goes out to those people. Just not Mindy, because she's a train wreck. Like, she's not, she's not just a clown, she's the whole circus. Like, she should have just stayed out of this. Like, this IP was not for her. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to gatekeep characters here because I'm fiction kin to a lot of characters, and I don't know if she's fiction kin or not, but like, relating to a character and then straight up butchering them are two separate things. Like, two separate things. But to end this on a, different note, I'm probably gonna try to upload some new videos with my Peepy plushes again and like maybe make new content with them. I'm going to finish a drawing I did where it's Super Moly 64 because I've been drawing some item label drawings. Like I have like this, right here. I finished coloring my BP over here. And then, these ones right here, Freezerburnpy and Cornpy and stuff like that. I might actually make a comic where the PPs I have, my Sona Nerd P and my OC BP, are gonna go on an epic comic book quest or manga, I guess. I'm gonna sketch it out. Like, I'm gonna try to draw panels of them basically going to the item label vault and rescuing Shrimpy and Cornpy because they have to restock. And I do want to technically, I do want to actually buy like those two later. I'm hoping that by that time we'll move and buy a house instead of rent. Because like I said, not all white people are privileged, and no, we're not rich. Some of us be struggling out here. So have some freaking respect and decency and understand that we struggle too. Okay? So, yeah, quit acting like we're the privileged one because I think the only privileged one is you. And you know who you are. Starts with an M and ends with a K. You know who you are. I've said your name enough. But yeah, to end on a light note, I'm going to be doing a lot of item label related content, hopefully, because if my phone lets me upload this recording, I'm most likely going to try to do more stuff like that. My Sylveon here that I got for Christmas, this. I actually got a Tokyo Ghoul DVD Season 1 Blu-ray, this Tokyo Ghoul, ring that the pro tag wears, and like a Tokyo Ghoul anime hoodie. So yeah, sorry that this video is so gosh darn long. It's like 102 right now. So I'm probably gonna have to like cut this recording now. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on this trash show. Honestly, I mean, like, dude, do better. I probably could have wrote a better show, to be honest. Like, for real. There are so many better things out there. I mean, heck, I actually liked Inside Job. Apparently, people were claiming that, like, it was originally on HBO Max, but then got canceled. But I want to say, for anybody that liked Inside Job like I did, if you go onto Netflix, if it's still on there, Netflix actually has Inside Job on there in their listings, and it looks like they now have Season 2 up and running. Because I watched the entirety of Season 1, and that's an adult cartoon that I actually liked. It's about, like, conspiracy theories. was actually pretty good. They knew how to do adult humor and stuff correct, and touchy subjects without being meta 24/7. And the references they made were actually kind of well written. So maybe take notes instead of canceling it off of HBO Max because you're so afraid that people are going to watch that over your trash nonsense. You know, take notes and actually learn from your mistakes and make something better. You know? Like, quit leeching off of popular IPs and make your own content. You know, take a risk. See if people are willing to watch it because you don't know. There might be somebody out there that'd be interested. But, that's all I have to say right now. You know, for anybody that watches this, you're a superhero. Because this is one long video. I see it says 55:39 and counting. I did not intend for this to be that long. I'm probably going to make a thumbnail for this from scratch on my Paint application on my computer, so bear with me. And maybe a disclaimer card too while I'm at it. But yeah, I hope y'all have like a good night / early morning. I just wanted to get this video out because it's been bugging me this whole time, and I wanted to voice my opinion on this matter before the new episodes drop or whatever. Because I might look at it just to see, but I feel like, you know, Norval should just leave Gigi and stuff too. People have theorized that maybe Velma's mom has her brain put in a dog that would lead to Scooby Doo being in it, or freaking Gigi's brain being put in it. But honestly, with how toxic Gigi is, I'd prefer that Scooby's body is not tainted by the negativity of these trash personalities based on these people that really are not redeemable whatsoever. I'd rather him not be touched by such negativity. He's too pure to be tainted with his negativity, in my personal opinion. You don't have to agree, but that's just my thought on the process. I did have my own mini theory that it would be really interesting if it turned out the killer is actually the person that wears like that squirrel mascot suit for like therapy and mental health awareness. But again, that would make me not have sympathy for the people that he targets, because it was the, you know, the quote unquote hot girls in Daphne's friend group that was criticizing him at first. So yeah, not to mention, they don't even take death as a very serious thing either. They make a joke out of that. And they also ridicule band kids too. So like I said, they just make fun of everybody. And Mindy Kaling thinks that she's above criticism. You're an adult. Act like one. But again, you know, that's all. So, until next time.